Time since records began, more than half the babies born in Scotland were born to unmarried parents. At the same time, the number of people who tied the knot were at their lowest since Victorian times. Katrina Renton is here with the details.
Sally, today's figures represent a watershed in the way attitudes to marriage and parenting have changed in recent times. Last year, just over 60,000 babies were born in Scotland. Of that number, more than 30,000, or just over 50%, were born to unmarried parents. And when you put that into an historical context, the change is dramatic. In 1866, the percentage of children born outside marriage stood at 9.9%, and it remained at or below this level for the next 100 years. There was even a small dip in the 1950s to 4.2%. But when we reach the 1980s, there's a dramatic change. By 1988, it had more than doubled to 24.5%. By 1998, that figure was up at almost 38.9%, and that brings us all the way up to today's figure of 50.1%. So what do parents picking up their kids from nursery think about this?
Very surprised. Oh, quite taken aback with that. I wouldn't believe that at all.
Well, I'm surprised it's only just happened, really. I thought that I didn't think that couples were getting married anymore.
These parents in Glasgow have mixed views on whether it matters that a child's parents are married.
Children benefit from having two parents, and it probably means that there's other elements that aren't quite in place, maybe financial hardship and various different things that could have an impact on the children when they get older.
It doesn't really matter as long as the children are happy and well cared for. That's it, isn't it?
This is how it used to be and how it should be again, say some campaigners. They say statistics prove that kids brought up with married parents do better by almost every measure, including health and education.
My fear is that if people aren't committed enough to one another to marry, then will they be committed enough to bring up their children long term with all the stresses of parenting? So I think it's a pretty sad and scary statistic for the future well-being of Scotland's children, actually.
That's not the point, says former Health Minister Susan Deakin. Values change and it's the quality of each family that counts.
Over time, attitudes and family structures change, but I think what policymakers and civic leaders alike should be concerned with is to ensure that we do what we can to provide the kind of quality of relationship and family environment that matters to children, rather than looking simply at structures or marital status.
With a steady rise in the number of births to unmarried parents over the years, perhaps that these families are now in the majority should be no surprise. And we found another remarkable statistic, this time for 2007. It shows that 2/3 of children born to mothers under the age of 30 were in unmarried households. A sign of the times, but some will say it's a cause for concern. Sally.
Thanks, Katrina. The trial of a man accused of murdering Moira Jones has begun in Glasgow. 33-year-old